All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the kickoff for the championship event for Forestry Challenge 2024. I'm Diane Dealey-Neal. You probably all do know me. I'm seeing all kinds of names, familiar names, and then some that I'm not so certain about, but I know you belong here. This is like one of those dreams where you have people from different parts of your life all converging together in one space. And that's the beauty of it. We have folks coming from all over California. And so this is a great way to get started and get an introduction in. The championship event is quite different than a standard fall event for many reasons, and we're going to talk about some of those tonight. But one thing that we don't have the time to do is a long opening lecture, so I'm going to do that now. We'll get some information out to you guys to start thinking about, and so when we arrive at camp, we're ready to go kind of with the step beyond. And that's what championships is all about, is taking everything you learned in the fall and sort of expanding it one step further, just pushing it a bit. So I think with that, I'm going to share my screen, and I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you guys. So let me, actually, before I do that, let me adjust my screen here. I'm going to have the PowerPoint in the center of my screen so that I can be looking straight into the camera as I'm coming here. Oh boy. So everybody, I appreciate you being on mute. That's a good thing, so that we don't have any background noise bleeding through. So let's see, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Quick adjustment. All right. So Forestry Challenge Championships coming up Wednesday through Friday. We did go with the Wednesday through Friday format this year because we had several folks with conflicts on Saturday. I'll be asking you for a show of hands at the event if you have a preference, whether it be Wednesday through Friday or Thursday through Saturday. What I can tell you is our volunteer pool is much stronger this year, and I think part of it is because our last day is on a Friday and not a Saturday. So we have about 66 volunteers, and at a typical fall event, we have 30 to 35, or even 25 to 30. So this is going to be huge. So as you can see, we have the 4 fall events. The championship event is sort of located in the center of the state. Okay, so I have a presentation outline. This looks long, but as you can see, meals and all that information is included here. So I want to make sure that that I explain everything thoroughly so that when you get there, you feel comfortable, and if you have any questions, you can ask now instead of waiting until you get there. Things like food and cabin arrangements, all that good stuff. If you have any questions, please use the chat box, and then we'll go over them at the end. Chris can keep an eye on that. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about Camp Sylvester, where we're going, and what to bring. And the beginning of the event is the mill tour. Many of you signed up for a mill tour either on Wednesday or Friday. All right, so Camp Sylvester, as you can see in the lower map on the left, sort of Central California, in the foothills or the mountains above Sonora, which is in the foothills. The map on the right shows the route from the town of Sonora, which is sort of the nearest city or town, up the hill. I did paste in a weather forecast. Our weather is going to be good. We've had 2 years of really tough conditions. 2 years ago, it snowed while we were there, and last year we just had a ton of snow at camp. So this year, I think things are looking good. We've just gained access to some of the areas that we want to go. The snow is melting fast, and the weather should be great. There are directions on the website if you have any questions about how to get to Camp Sylvester. So we are doing a mill tour. Many of you are doing the tour on Wednesday, and I will send the schedule out tomorrow, the final schedule. We have school groups and we have some volunteers mingled in that'll be taking the tour. The tours start at 1:20 on Wednesday afternoon, and I believe the last tour leaves at 3. The tours are 40 minutes long, and you absolutely must bring your signed release form for minors. You have to have your parents sign at the bottom. We'll have extra copies if you don't have one, if you're an adult, but if you're a minor, you have to have one signed in advance. I need you to wear shoes, closed-toed shoes, pants. You will be given a orange or safety vest to wear and a hard hat, and earplugs and safety glasses. The places that we're going could be dangerous. So we all need to follow directions, stay where we're safe, and take the necessary precautions. So that's going on in the afternoon. You have the address. You'll drive into the main mill parking lot and go up to sort of you'll see it's obvious there's a front porch, and Miriam will be checking you in, taking your forms, and getting the tours organized. Once you're done with that, you'll head on up to camp. So let's see what to bring. So these pictures are from camp this weekend. There was a lot more snow there last Monday, this past Monday, a week ago. Chris and I were there. A lot more snow and frozen chunks of ice in the parking lot. As you can see, the good news is that we don't have the ice. The bad news is we've got mud. So I highly recommend bringing some waterproof shoes or something you don't care if it gets dirty. We drove by on Friday and there was a wedding or something being set up there and they cleared those benches. So by the time we get there, things should be really good and drier, pretty good condition. You'll be staying, if you're staying at Camp Sylvester, you'll be staying in cabins. You need to bring a sleeping bag and a towel. You also, most importantly, need to bring your release forms signed by a parent if you are not 18 yet. If you have any need to find those items, they're on the Ford Championship Students page at the top. And I have a screenshot there of the different links. But to bring list, a mill release form, and then adult and minor release forms for the event itself. So you must fill those out completely, and we'll be asking for those when you arrive. So let's go ahead and talk about Wednesday. What's happening on Wednesday after the mill tour? So here's a map of the camp. You'll come down Dodge Ridge Road. You'll see the sign that you see the picture of on the right. That was 2 years ago with our snowfall. You'll stop at Dover Hall for registration, and you can park there. There's a big parking lot right as you enter camp. Once you get your room assignment, your cabin assignments, and those are already out in the advisor booklet that was sent to the teachers a few days ago, you'll find your cabin, you'll get yourself unpacked, and then we'll have dinner. So I'm going to go ahead and run through the menu. So if anybody has any dietary concerns, hopefully some of those questions will be answered. For dinner, we're having lasagna. We also have vegetarian lasagna, but it is not vegan. We'll have dinner rolls with butter. We'll have salad, a salad bar, and then all kinds of drinks, lemonade, iced tea, coffee, water, and then we'll have brownies and ice cream for dessert when you guys go into work time. So we do have some accommodations for vegans, but if you are vegan and you're concerned, please reach out or just bring some of your own food. We do have a refrigerator and microwave there available to you, but we are trying to accommodate everybody's diet the best we can. Won't have everything, but we'll be doing a pretty good job, I think. So again, if you have questions, bring your own food or reach out ahead of time and ask me for some. All right, so our focus topic this year is we'll have our panel in the evening. That's why I'm doing the lecture tonight, to get through some of that material. Focus topic is fuel break maintenance, and this is the big drum roll, the moment you've all been waiting for. What we're going to ask you to do is identify various methods used to treat existing fuel breaks to maintain them. We want you to create a mini manual with a flow chart that will help land managers determine which method works best for a situation. So what's happening in Tuolumne County and all over California is these fuel breaks have been or are being established. The problem is you go a few years down the road and these fuel breaks start growing, as they do, and they need to be maintained. And it doesn't sound in some ways like a very exciting topic, but it's actually a very relevant one because there are people waiting for your finished product that want to use it in their program. So I've asked for months now, does anybody know of such a manual, a flow chart? Nobody can tell me that anything like it exists. So you're going to be doing some groundbreaking work and producing something that will be very useful. So that's the topic. So let's talk about some of the background information that's posted on the website. You need to be looking at the two maps. These are items 1 and 2 that are linked. You can see that there's the Stanislaus landscape, which is the area we're going to be in and that we're focused on, although these types of landscapes are all over the state. So you study the map, look at the one on the right, zoom in a little bit, try to find Camp Sylvester and Pinecrest. You'll see some of the areas where we're going to go. This will be given to you on a flash drive, so you'll have access to it when you're at camp, but I would suggest taking a look at it beforehand. Maybe you should match up. I'll show you tonight where we're going on the field trip. You can match up those locations with the treatments that you can see in the different colors on the map on the right. All right, items 3 and 4 are other things that are posted. Number 3 is the idea that everybody's working across boundaries. I will tell you, Tuolumne County is one of the best places to study in the state because everybody's working together. Things are actually going really well there, and they're getting out ahead of a catastrophic fire that has not happened yet. So hopefully, if there is a fire, they can, there'll be treatments so things can down quickly. I was actually there on the 27th of February when Randy Moore announced this working partnership. So that's kind of exciting. You also have an item, familiar with shaded fuel breaks. It's 3 pages out of this publication. The publication, you don't need to have the whole thing. It's 40-something pages, but I picked 3 pages that explain what is a fuel break, a shaded fuel break, how are they established. So in this event, we're not going to be talking about how to establish them or why to establish them. We're going to be talking about maintaining. All right, there's a couple videos I'd like you to watch. I think one is 4 minutes and one is 7. They're very well done, both of them. Just about one of the tools that we do have to maintain fuel breaks, and that's prescribed fire. So I want you to be familiar and understand what it is and how it's done. The video on that's screenshotted on the right is more of an introductory video, and the video on the left was shot right near Camp Sylvester, and it's an area that we're going to be very close to. So there's some really great footage there. All right, and then the last thing is on that section is a specific project. It's a trial where the Cooperative Extension, University of California, is trying different treatments in an established fuel break to see what would work best. The author of that study is going to be on our panel on Wednesday night. His name is Scott Oneto, and so I posted that 4-page document. They do a lot of the treatments, a lot of the things they're testing are different herbicides. You do not need to know about specific herbicides. If herbicides are an option for maintaining a fuel break, you have to get a specialist called a pest control advisor to recommend a specific chemical. So there's no need for you to worry about which chemical. It's just the idea that herbicides can be used to maintain vegetation. Some of the methods in this study, I talked to Scott a few hours ago. They're very relevant. Grazing is an option that I think you should consider, but flaming and lopping are sort of small scale things, and we want to address things that can be used on a large scale landscape. So the low volume drizzle, you can read about that in that paper. He said, yeah, actually that could be a viable option for large landscapes. Some part of the study was being developed for homeowners, and so it has things like flaming that aren't practical on a large scale. However, broadcast burning is something that's not in the study that is something we want to consider. So please look through those links, take a few minutes to get familiar with them, and you'll have access to them while you're at the event. All right, so I'm asking you guys to create a flow chart. To me, this is a nice graphic way to understand something. I like visual. I'm a visual learner, and if you are too, this is an easy way to learn something or to understand it. This is an example. This has nothing to do with our topic, but it's an example of a flow chart. So you can see a flow chart has boxes and arrows, and you start at the upper left. In this case, you end at the lower right, or in one of the bottoms, and you go from step to step. And every time you get to a box, you're making a decision about which way to go next. So this is a very simple flow chart. You can also see something that I noticed on, I'm going to give you another example. Both of these flow charts have colored boxes. So there is in PowerPoint a flow chart option. And I would suggest if you have PowerPoint, taking a look at that and kind of understanding how to set up a flow chart so that you're not trying to learn that when you get to the event. So anyway, I noticed a couple things. There's boxes, there's arrows, and there's different colors. So that's an example of a simple flow chart. Here is an example of a complicated flow chart. Again, this topic has nothing to do with our event. I just wanted to show you an example. This one, I see arrows crossing each other. I see, of course, different color boxes. That's another thing it has in common. And sometimes those arrows, it's not just two. It's not a dichotomous situation. Sometimes you have one arrow or you have multiple arrows. So flow charts, I think, can be very useful if they're easy to understand. So we want something that's a level of complexity that's somewhere in between the two examples I've just shown. So that's what a flow chart is, and I want to make sure you understood that. Okay, so on Wednesday evening, we're going to have our opening panel. This was from last year. So we have 5 panelists that we're going to be allowing each one We're gonna time them with flashcards, just like you guys get, probably 8 to 10 minutes each. So we have Dan Gussie. He is a Forest Service Fire Management Planning Specialist. He is one of our fire specialists. We have Scott Oneto, who did the study that I just mentioned on the last slide. We have Chris Dow, who was there last year. Some of you might remember him. He works for Sierra Pacific Industries, and he's pretty familiar with herbicides and fire as treatments. We have Stacy Martin. She is an owner of a company called Sierra Resource Management, and they are a logging company. If you remember Mike Albrecht from previous years, this is his business partner. Mike's going to be in Washington, D.C., lobbying for loggers during this week. So Stacy's coming, and she can address mastication and logging as ways to treat fuel burns. And then the last guest, I had him as tentative, but I just got a confirmation. His name is Lee Hazeltine. He owns a company called Integrazers, and they have thousands of goats. His specialty is grazing with goats. And he's going to have some very interesting things to say about that as an option. One side note, it's kind of interesting. I realized when I read about him in his bio that he and I attended college together. We had the same major and we were there at the same time. However, we didn't really know each other. So I haven't seen him in 40 years or 35 years. So that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing him. All right, so after the work time or after the panel, you guys will go into work time. The picture on the right shows our setup in Dover Hall. So it's different than the fall events. You will not have appointments. You will walk in, if you have a question or you want to talk to somebody, you'll walk into the room and you'll wait in a queue, and then you'll have 5-minute appointments. So if there's someone in particular you want to talk to, you have to wait for them. If you just want to talk to anybody, you'll be ushered in very quickly and be able to sit down with a specialist or a forester. We have about 8 or 9 people, maybe 10 on that are going to be doing that. So hopefully there's enough people there that you'll have an opportunity to bounce your ideas off. I highly recommend you take advantage of this. This is your opportunity to hear as many voices as you can, because everybody's going to have a slightly different take on this, even in the world of professionals. So if you want to, I noticed on the lower right or lower left picture, you can bring snacks if you'd like. We're going to be serving dessert at that time, but I think you'll be well fed. But if you want to bring your own snack, you're certainly welcome to. All right, so let's move on to Thursday. What's happening on Thursday? This is our big day. This is our full day of the event. So on Thursday morning, we're going to have breakfast at 7:30, and then you're going to pack your own lunch. So you'll be able to make your own sandwich. We'll have chips, fruit, cookies. We'll throw some drinks in an ice chest so they stay cold, and you can get those when you eat lunch. For breakfast, we're having waffles. We're having syrup and pie filling type stuff, so fruit on that. Call it fruit. Bacon and sausage, yogurt with granola, fruit, juice. We have apple juice, orange juice, coffee, hot chocolate, tea. Hopefully everything that you need. We will have for the vegans, we'll have vegan bread and peanut butter jelly for your sandwich. Hopefully you'll feel that you have what you need. So our testing site is called Fraser Flat Campground. It is the gate has been open today. You might have seen the teachers got a picture of that from last Monday with lots of snow. The snow is melted. The road is now open. We can get in regardless, but that's where we're going. So it's only 16 minutes from camp. Our goal is to get there by 9 o'clock to start testing at 9:20. When you arrive in the campground, you're going to be looking for your parking spot. So what we're going to do is have a circuit. This is different than the fall. You will rotate through the stations. Each station is 5 minutes. It's one huge circuit. So you'll start at the location that matches your team number, and you'll be parked right near there. So if you're, let's say I'm just staring at the map, Nevada Union, your team 18, you're going to start at stop 18 or task center 18, and you're going to be parked in campsite 24. So I put arrows in. Now this is backwards from the normal flow of traffic in a campground, but it'll make it easier for you to park. You're not having to back a trailer in, so you can just go the wrong way, basically. So everybody's going to pull into the campground, get parked. We will not have a gathering there. You'll go straight to your station, and then the testing should start at 9:20. There'll be 30 stops. 2 are snack and water breaks, 2 are bathroom breaks, and 1 is a photo. We're going to take your team photo, not your school photo, but your team photo. So the testing will be over at noon. And that point, you'll be back to where you started. You'll be at your vehicle. You can grab your lunch. Each campsite has a picnic table. You can sit there. You can sit wherever you want. You can go down and enjoy the river. It's a really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the test. This is the list of everything that we posted on the website, and I'm just going to tell you everything here is going to be tested. Yes, you have to know the parts of the tree. You have to know about crown classification. Some of the things that are different from the fall, when we give you these questions in the fall, we give you a vocabulary list. In this case, we're not going to. We're just going to ask you to tell us the terms that are associated with something you're seeing, and you're going to have to know those words without a list of them. Okay? You're going to need to know the common plant communities in California and their ranges. You are going to have to know the following species, about the use of the key, that's same as fall. And yes, we will be doing tree ID using keys for other plants that aren't on that list. And perhaps one that is. I'm just going to put that out there so nobody tries to say, but wait a minute. So anyway, you're going to need to know leaf morphology in order to use this. Yes, you will need to place a chain. Yes, filbert stick, diameter and height to the nearest log. Yes, a clinometer, 2 trees. Because there's only 5 minutes, when we use the clinometer, you're not going to be getting diameters. You're just going to be measuring the height on 1 tree, and you'll have 5 minutes to do that. You will have a tape to measure an exact distance from the tree, but with the filbert stick, you'll be pacing. So if you're not familiar with some of these tools, you can ask for help when you get to camp on Wednesday if you need a quick refresher. We'll have foresters there to help you. Diameter tape, yes. Angle gauge, yes. Densitometer, yes. And I added increment bore, so you need to look at that. You need to on that link and read that item about an increment bore, especially if you didn't use one in the fall. Yes, we'll have volume tables, limited distance tables, species composition using the square chain. I just changed that today. I realized it said circular plot, but it is a square chain plot out on the ground, so I want you to know that. Yes, we have maps, township range section, topography, headings, all that stuff. Let's see, products. I don't even think we're going to test products, so actually we should take that one off. But we will be testing a site class table and a stocking table. Please take a look at those. I've not talked about site class tables in the fall events this year, so please look at those. So what the questions are going to do is we're going to have a series of questions, say, on site class, or on, let me pick a good example here, maps. So we'll have our standard questions, but then I'm going to ask you a question that kind of goes above and beyond and pushes the envelope a little bit. And that's going to show me who truly understands the concept and not just knows the questions for the fall and its answers. So all those things will be on with the exception of the products. I don't believe we have a products question. Okay, so once we finish, we'll have lunch from 12 to 1. We'll get going on our field trip. It looks like a long trip. The total drive time is 1 hour and 45 minutes. And this is, I sent this email out to the teachers. If they forward it to you, you can download this on your phone. And once you have that stored in your phone, you won't need a cell signal to navigate. We're going to try very hard to make sure nobody gets lost. And the other thing I'm working on is trying to get a 2-way radio in each vehicle. So if we're driving and there's something to look at, we don't need to all get out. Just person narrating can just come on the radio and say, hey, look to your right, you can see this. So anyway, that is there, and you can download that now and take a close look at where we're going. So the field trip, I believe, has 9 stops, and I'm going to talk about them now. So just past the campground, headed back up towards the highway, we're going to talk about hand piling. Hand cutting and piling is a way to maintain fuel breaks. This was just a week ago. You can see there's still a little snow. And we'll be talking to the fire people and also to Chris Dow. He may contribute on the stop. So that is one way to maintain the fuel break. Another way is to use a machine and masticate and then pile the heavy debris and burn it later. So different situation, perhaps different fuels would lead to different treatments. There were a lot of heavy fuels in these piles. You see that stop. The next stop is going to be a place where they did just what they did in the last stop, but they burned the piles. So this is an example of one that's completed that treatment. And that's, as you can see, pretty open and pretty sparse with ground vegetation. All right, so then we're gonna go up Highway 108, past Pinecrest, past the little town of Strawberry, and we're gonna turn and go down into a canyon to a lake called Beardsley Reservoir. And we are gonna take our group photo right there at the dam. So we're gonna ask people not to park. We'll have that all arranged. We're gonna line you guys up and we're gonna take a beautiful group photo. We also are gonna look up, if you see on the left side of the lake, you can see the hillside has a little brown to it. That is a broadcast burn, a large scale broadcast burn on the south facing slope with a lot of oaks. Picture on the right is driving through that. You can see some of that vegetation has died. It was just completed last fall, so the vegetation hasn't actually dropped to the ground yet, but a lot of that understory was killed with that burn. Something else I'll point out about this picture on the right is there's a rock in the road. We're going to be super careful. This entire area is going to be behind a closed gate. They have not lifted the closure order, but we have keys. But I would say be cautious and please be careful not to drive over rocks. We don't want anybody's cars getting. But the road is paved, so you should have some travel. Okay, after we cross the dam and we go up the other side, in fact, if you look across on that picture, we just came from the area in the distance. We're going to stop and look at an SPI clear cut because a clear cut is, at least temporarily, a form of a fuel grade. I want you to see the herbicides that have been used in the site and the effectiveness of them. Chris Dow will be leading this part of the trip. And then we're going to go see some fuel grades that are mature trees, but where herbicides have been used in the understory. So the idea is that we're going to see as many of these places as we can so you can understand when these things are used, when these different treatments are used, and how they work and when they're appropriate. That's the idea. Now, with that flow chart, it's very abstract. This whole topic is pretty abstract. I'm not going to give you a data set. You're going to be out looking and talking to people. But what we need is this flow chart. That's the product. A mini manual, few pages, describing the pros and cons of each type of treatment. And then kind of the golden egg is that flow chart. Now, we want you to see something that needs treatment so that you can apply your flow chart to a specific situation. So the last stop is right near camp, and it's in an experimental forest, and it was treated about 10 years ago, and you can see that the ground fuels and the ladder fuels are starting to grow. They're not completely over, it's not like we're starting back at zero, but there's definitely a need for retreatment there. Chris Dow, who will be with us, was one of the people who put that in, was mechanically treated, and I believe it was broadcast burn. I'm working with the researcher, Eric Knapp, who's in the fire video, and asking him for a photo of it right when it was treated, so you can see how it changed in 10 years. So we want you to apply your flow chart to this one location as an example of how you would use the flow chart. So that is it. In the evening, so for dinner, we'll get back to camp. We'll have chicken fajitas with dinner, and for the vegetarians, we'll also have beans and rice, and for everybody who likes that. Salsa, cheese, guacamole, sour cream, some queso, and fresh baked cookies for dessert, and any leftover ice cream. We will do evening work time and more Ask the Forester. Again, that open format where you just go in and ask people questions. Pretty much the same crew of people will be there both nights. I think about 10 people. That'll last till 10:15, and then we're going to ask you to wrap up and probably call work time off. I think it's at 10:30. So you'll be putting your stuff away, getting your pen in your computers, and hopefully getting it. All right, Friday activities: breakfast and cabin pack up, holding pen, and then awards and lunch. So we have 10 rounds going at the same time because we have 30 teams, and we want to give you more time to give your presentation than we did in the fall. So we have 10 locations yet to be determined with 3 rounds of presentation. Each of your presentations will be 20 minutes instead of 15 as in the fall, and a 5-minute Q&A. We also are fortunate that we have 40 judges. So there will be 4 judges in each room, and we think that's good for the final round because we want more scoring and more voices to be listening and evaluating. Now, keep in mind, your presentation, it's not about a right answer, it's about a process. So the more logically and clearly you can explain the process you would go through to make a decision, that's what we're looking for. For breakfast, just to back up, we're gonna pull out any leftover waffles and bacon and sausage. We ordered more than we needed for that first breakfast, but we'll be supplementing with muffins and hard-boiled eggs. We'll still have that yogurt and fruit. And again, you know, we'll try to have options for vegetarians and vegans. What we're going to need, because we're going to be setting up in the cabins, we're going to need you to pack up your cabin, at least roll up your stuff and push it aside so we can get in there. We're going to need access by about 8:30 in the morning, because the presentation will probably start at 9:20. I believe that's the correct time. So we're going to need to get in there. So you can either load your stuff into your car or neatly store it away so that we can come in and set those rooms up. All right, let's see. Then after the presentations are over, oh, and just to back up, you'll be in what we affectionately call the holding pen. No phones out, no practicing or anything like that. There'll only be 3 rounds. We'll be done about, I think it's about 11 o'clock. I think we'll start about 9:20 and we'll be done shortly after 11. We'll immediately go into our closing assembly, awards, you know, the judges' comments. And then for lunch, we're going to have sandwiches again and anything that's left over for dinner. My goal here is not to have leftover food. We may even send you home some tips. So anyway, that's how the schedule goes. Hopefully, if people have questions, put them in the chat box. And then just, I think the last thing I was going to do is a wrap up and Q&A. So just to wrap up, I will be emailing you a link to a recording of this session. I will make these slides into a PDF so you can do a quick review and get that link, any links or any information you need. And then I am still finalizing the focus topic question. I will try to get that done tonight, and I will send that out as well. Now we are going to provide you with a printout of that focus topic question, but we're going to send it out in advance so you can look at it. So hopefully that has covered what needs to be covered. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to pull you guys back over in front of my PowerPoint. And let's see, we're at 7:30, so we're doing well time-wise, and see if there are any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and open the chat box here. So Chris is saying he can answer questions, but I don't see any questions. So at this time, I'm opening up. You can unmute. If you have something you'd like to contribute, ask, anything.
So Diane, I have had a couple of questions come to me just through personal messages.
Okay.
So first, actually, only one that isn't John Kelly. I have a question about celiac. So it's effectively a gluten-free diet.
Mm-hmm.
So just a recap of what I was saying in our private messages, but I do want everybody else to hear this as well in case this affects you. My answer to that is we didn't specifically plan around this. We do have fridge space available. Please, if you have a special diet like that, please kind of bring your own food. Is that effectively the correct message?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
We are going to buy gluten-free bread. You know, there's things like fruit, you know, Whole Foods that you know what it is. You know, but we make labels available. Let's say you want to have something, but you're not sure about it. We'll make sure that you can see what is in the food to make sure it's something that will work for you. But all else fails, please come with some things that are good for you, and we'd be happy to store those and allow you access to the kitchen. You know, the heat, at least to heat things.
Okay.
That answers. Okay.
Olivia, I hope that answers your question. And as I said, please email us about it. We can answer any more questions about it. We could send you a full menu or something like that of exactly what we plan on serving.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. I have a question from Erica L. So the presentation is process-based to make a decision and not solution-based, correct? Yes, basically yes. And I struggle with this because I want you to feel like you're doing something tangible, yet it is abstract. It's about the process, it's about the thinking process and about what do you need to know about the landscape in order to make decisions. This could be a process of elimination. Maybe you start, you know, maybe your flow chart starts with all the options and then you start saying, how do you eliminate things? So what you're going to need to find out when you arrive and when you're talking to the foresters is, what are the pros and cons of each type of treatment option, and what types of landscapes are they appropriate on? So I will give you an example. Let's see, you know, if the terrain is too steep for a machine, you're gonna have to know what the terrain is like, because you may have to eliminate using a machine if it's too steep. If you're right near a water course, and this is just theoretical, if you got to apply this, like if you own land near water and herbicides, you know, could possibly potentially get into the water, you may remove that from your list of possible choices because of the concern. If your land is that you're going to treat is next to a neighborhood, there's a lot of fuel breaks around neighborhoods. Broadcast burning may be an issue. Smoke may be an issue. Danger that the fire is going to escape may be an issue. Maybe in that case, pile burning would make more sense, because at least you can concentrate the fuel and you can, you know, then burn it in a more controlled fashion. So the things about the landscape are going to inform the decision maker on which things that are possible and which things are not possible. And so trying to organize that into a flow chart made the most sense to me. So, and then at the end, we just want you to show as an example, if your landscape was the one that we're going to see at the end of our field trip, how would you apply your flow chart to that specific example? So hopefully that makes sense. This is very different than normal fall events. It makes me nervous. I think it's going to be fun and exciting. I want you to feel like you're doing something that's valuable, because there are people waiting for you to finish this, so that they can get your ideas and implement. Okay, any other questions? We're at 7:38, so I think that went pretty fast. Okay, so I see a question here. Let me go ahead and take that. Do we have to narrow down our recommendation to just one solution, or can we do a combination of treatments? A combination, sure. One, maybe, and also this is evolving over time. You know, sometimes a fuel break might be retreated by starting with something and then doing something else as a follow-up. Maybe there needs to be a point in time which you do a reevaluation. It was our first treatment successful, and if it wasn't, then what? So you might, you know, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. Okay, I've got another question here. Just to clarify, is our flow chart supposed to be for all of the methods, or the method we think is best? And if it's the second, can we do our presentation on a combination of 2 treatment methods? Okay, so your flow chart is going to have all the possibilities, because it should be something someone can pick up and use anywhere. Anywhere there's a fuel break that needs retreatment, they should be able to look at the flow chart and look at their landscape and start asking themselves questions. You know, what is it near a neighborhood? Is it near water? Is rocky terrain? You know, what is my landscape, and how do I apply it to this chart? Yes, combinations of treatments are also good. The only time you're going to have a specific, here's what we need to do right here, is the last stop, where you're going to show as an example, we're going to use this flow chart on this landscape as if we're ready to retreat it, and it needs retreatment, believe me. And here's how we're going to apply this landscape to this flow chart. And then you would come up with a specific answer. The best method of retreating this particular location is blank. And it could be a combination. It could be something, do this one year, do this the next year, or it could just be one treatment. Maybe you're going to arrive at one perfect treatment, and that's what your recommendation is. Keep in mind, the more treatments you do, the more expensive it gets. We are going to try to provide you with costs, not specific numbers per acre, but at least expensive, moderately expensive, or inexpensive. For instance, prescribed fire acre by acre is less expensive than something like hand cutting and piling. So, you know, there's differences in costs. We aren't going to ask you to do a specific analysis, because those costs change over time. They're constantly fluctuating depending on location. Think about a masticator. Fuel prices are going to affect that cost per acre. So we aren't going to give you a specific number, because that number may not apply a year from now or whenever someone's using this. But just to know that mastication is expensive in comparison to, say, grazing or other methods. So you're going to have a sense of just a hierarchy, or, you know, expensive, moderate, or cheap. Kind of 3 categories that you'll use. Okay. I have a question here. Will previous treatments and projects on nearby land forests should be put into consideration? So what I think what you're asking me, and maybe you're not, but this is what I'm going to say. by going to all these field trip stops, you're gonna have a sense, and you should be asking these questions when we get there. You know, what were the considerations that made you arrive at treating this landscape in this way? You know, what were your considerations? What were your concerns? You know, let's just say the area that was hand piled. Why didn't you use a machine? Well, because it was too steep or too rocky. You'll see that when you get there. In the landscape, let's say the clear cut, why didn't you use goats? Well, maybe there's a good reason for that. I don't have an answer, but those are the kinds of questions you should be asking that will help you arrive at your answer. So, yeah, so I mean, nearby lands and forests, I would say your specific example is the one we're going to show you. I worry about this field trip. We're going to have to stay on track and on time. I'm going to have, you know, my watch and my script, and then we're going to have to move because we're going to visit a lot of places. But I think that's important for you because, yes, it'll be a long afternoon, but I think the more things you see, the better perspective you're going to have on different things and what they look like and how they might work. So I hope you guys like this. I think it's going to be super fun and exciting. It's just not the same as the fall, nor should it be. Should not be going back out and doing 10-acre plots right now. You guys are beyond that. We're doing kind of pushing it and going the next step. Okay, anything else? See, we're at 7:43, so we've kept our time under check here. All right, we've got 63 folks on the call. I really appreciate this, you guys, taking the time to come this evening and listen live and ask questions. Like I said, I will put the recording of this on YouTube and send you a link this evening. So anybody who is on your team or that you know that needs to see this can come and watch it. You know, very soon, tonight, tomorrow, whenever. And if not, watch it on the way while you're driving. Have your teammates watch it on the road. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm staring at a bunch of black boxes. A few people have come on camera, but I know you're there. I see a thank you so much. Informative, excited to see you soon. You guys, I can just tell you, like, this is one of those things I said, like a dream where you have all these people from different locations coming together, converging. This is extremely exciting. Everybody is waiting for you. They can't wait to see you, meet you, talk to you. There's a lot of anticipation in Tuolumne County for you guys arriving. So anyway, with that, I will let you guys go. I see a lot of thank yous, and I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now.